From the studio of your mom's basement comes a podcast by two idiots in a revolving door of legends and has-beens from the oldest university in Texas. This is Purple, Gold, and Getting Old.
Happy Halloween! I want to kick things off with an apology. As Howard Payne's football game was progressing this past weekend, the last episode was uploading to YouTube, in which we talked about them being undefeated, and then they got their butts kicked. So, Howard Payne, we apologize for making you Howard Payne again.
Sorry about you. You know, I wish they could have at least come in HSU undefeated, but maybe now they'll be mad and they'll beat HSU, and I can still laugh at HSU. That would be wonderful.
Pretty great. Yeah.
That's all. That's all I want in life. Speaking of laughing at HSU, one of the best scores of the weekend was Crew Soccer beat HSU 3-0. And that was to win the ASC regular season championship. So they're hosting now because of that. So as always, HSU still sucks. And
they do. When HSU soccer loses, it's just even better.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Special history with them, getting mooned and all. Because of Halloween, we've got a cool story to tell about a haunted building supposedly on UMHB's campus. And we're going to bring on maybe the ghost herself, Clementine.
Maybe.
So we're going to listen to some stories about the haunted Presser Hall at UMHB with Amanda Prazak.
Here we go. Let's get haunted.
A Halloween spooktacular special for their Purple, Gold, and Getting Old podcast, isn't it?
It is. I'm already scared.
I know. Well, I thought it'd be a perfect opportunity to have Amanda on to talk about a haunted building on UMHB's campus, because in fact we do have a haunted building. I wouldn't know of the website or if this is still true, or maybe even if it was ever true, but someone once told me that there was some official website of the 50 most haunted places in Texas, and that Presser Hall was on it.
It was true. I seen it.
You seem to. All right. Well,
but like you, I don't know if it's still a thing.
Yeah. So we brought on Amanda, and before we get into our story of the haunted things, let's maybe talk about a haunted past. No, I'm kidding. We always want to know about how people came to UMHB. So Amanda, what brought you to UMHB?
Well, not the haunted building.
That was it. That was the criteria.
But that's what kept you there.
What brought me to UMHB? I don't know. I really don't. It was the only college I applied to, got in. Okay. So.
Amazing. Well, that's the shortest story you've ever had.
I didn't. There wasn't a big. I was just getting into college and was 10 minutes down the road from my parents, and so.
Yeah. Gotcha.
I almost just lied for the sake of the pod and said, you're actually from Wyoming, and you just threw a dart, and that was the first one. Like, whoa.
I mean, I could have done the same thing in Texas, just throwing a dart.
True.
Yeah, that's true. And so we always also kind of talk about how everyone met. Me and you met the first night on campus at a Walmart, just getting groceries.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'll leave it at that. But Garrett,
let's stop that story.
Karen, Amanda, how did y'all two meet though? I actually don't know if I know this.
Through you.
Oh, okay.
Y'all two were hanging out in McLean lobby, and I had to walk. I would cut through there instead of the extra 20 feet to walk around. So
freshman year hanging out.
Just the two of y'all would always be in there, and
no other reason that I would have been in McLean lobby.
All right, well, so
can I just say real quick, because even though I know we're well past Women's History Month or whatever, you are the first woman to be on here from the Friar Tuck. Actually, you're the first Friar Tuck guest we've had. So
everybody else on here.
Yeah, like you're the first member of the infamous Friar Tuck family, and about half our listeners are going to be like, what is he talking about? And the other half are going to be like, oh gosh. So
apparently I didn't give a back then, and apparently I still don't give a
we're just, those dolphins they're battery today. I can't, excuse me. We've got dolphins who live next door. If every once in a while you hear them chattering, that's what's going on. So Garrett, what did you know about Presser Hall when you first got there?
When I first got there, basically everything you said in the intro, except I'd known that way before I got to UMHB because my mom went to UMHB and it was that way back then. So it wasn't like a recent tradition or rumor. Like that's been that way for a long time.
Been around
And there's some conflicting reports that there actually was a story that I won't get into for the sake of the podcast, that actually there was an incident that would have caused the building to be haunted. And my sophomore year, when I was on the like class director board, whatever they called our class for stunt night, basically like we weren't in stunt night, we were putting it on. Steering committee, yeah. We were not allowed to reference Presser as being haunted because something to do with people associated with the event were still in the area.
Gotcha. Well, that's sort of what I wanted to get into, though, to what the myth of Presser Hall, which we think has some historical like truth to the actual what happened. Is there a reason you're not wanting to get into it? Because I'm about to tell it.
Well, and you may be telling a completely different story than I'm referring to. If you're telling a fun story, you're definitely telling a different one. But I know the two of you have a whole different history regarding that building than I do. So,
well, for sure. But before we get into the Presser ghost that we met, I wanted to talk about that like what I think is a true story and why it's haunted. Supposedly, I don't believe in haunting. Which is like, so there was a real student who went there back in, I think, World War II era, maybe World War one of the world wars.
Long time ago.
Yeah, a super long time ago. And she was engaged to someone at Fort Hood who was a soldier. So actually, it might have been previous to Fort Hood. He may have just been a soldier because Fort Hood's kind of new.
Yeah.
And she decided she wanted to break up with them right before the war or something along those lines. And so he got mad and went and shot her in what was the road right behind Presser, but is now sort of just a walkway. And so that's the story of why it's supposedly haunted.
And everyone has a little different version because I've always heard it was in the upstairs.
Oh yeah, that's sort of how.
Yeah,
they're always like tweaked.
Everyone has it. I also love how you told a story from like pre-World War I, like it happened on Twitter. Like she wanted to break up with him.
Yeah, well, like, yeah, who knows? I'm just trying to shorten up the story.
We weren't there.
That was always the myth about Presser Hall that I heard. And I would hear stories that like, and I don't know how true this was, that like the officers who would like lock up the buildings and stuff at night, they wouldn't lock the internal doors on that. And the cleaning crew wouldn't clean that after dark, but they would just lock the external doors and just kind of leave it as it is.
I will add before you get into the main event here that just there are always random accounts that students had in that building of things that you can always tell when someone's bluffing, and sometimes you could tell someone's being dead serious. And one was I had a welcome week uncle my freshman year who he worked on the top floor, but he worked at night, and he said he would be the only one in his work study job just sitting there alone. And every once in a while he'd hear somebody get on the elevator and it would come up and it would open, but there was never anyone on the elevator, and then it would just go down. And he said it didn't happen a lot, but every now and then while he was working, it would do that. Just freak him out.
That's interesting. Well, we're going to get into this story, but I'm going to let you know, I know how to make that happen with Amanda, what was the myth around Presser that you knew prior to the story we're about to get into?
The same as yours. I mean, prior to UMHB, because, I'm really good and did all my research before going to college. I didn't know the story before getting there. So I think hanging out with you, Tyler, is around that whole time is really when I learned of the myth of Presser Hall.
Well, the way this story starts is a campus officer used to give tours to people late at night, and it was really creepy. Maybe we should protect his name, so I'll call him Officer Wood.
And we'll protect the current police by saying that this guy's not there anymore.
Yes, this is all true. So Officer Wood is how we will refer to him throughout the rest of this podcast. So Amanda, you were the one who introduced me to Officer Wood, I want to say, and you got me into all.
I just got it.
It took you long enough.
Welcome to the party, Garrett.
Well, I blanked on his real name for a second as soon as it clicked. I was like, oh.
Got it. Yeah. So Amanda, how did you get approached about kind of going on just a tour of this place after dark?
Gosh, I mean, we would hang out with Officer Wood late at night because we were all, back when we could hang out till 2-3 o'clock in the morning. And I think there was like several nights in a row that we talked about going and touring. And then finally one night, Officer Wood said that he'd take us over there. And so I think, gosh, had to be like 2-3 o'clock in the morning. And we went over there and he gave us a tour of the building at night. So
did you see any ghosts?
No. Nope.
What
there was some activity, but it was no good. What?
Was it scary at all?
Not really.
No? See,
you'd have to believe in ghosts to believe that. Okay, there were some creepy things, like the elevator thing that was happening. So but gosh, I don't even remember who all was there. Because there was several of us there that night. And so we had all kind of split up and went. I forgot how many floors are in Presser? 3, 4?
3. Well, 4 with the basement.
Oh, the basement, yeah. And so like we were all on separate floors. I do remember the elevator going up and down and opening with no one inside of it. I seem to remember the piano on the 3rd or 4th floor that was playing. So there was that kind of activity that, with all of us spread through the building, I think, as creepy as it was, there's still like, we knew that everybody was in the building.
Yeah, so these tours were super fun. Garrett, did you ever get to do one of these tours of Presser After Dark?
No, I found out about it after it kind of blew up. Well, I'd like heard about it. I think I heard about it from you.
Okay.
And not knowing that was a thing. I was like, what's he talking about? So I ignored it. And then later on, somebody from somebody else in the journalism department messaged me and she was like, hey, you want to go on the Presser tour? It's like, what? She's like, sorry, totally messed the wrong person. But now that I have you, do you want to go on the Presser tour?
Yeah, it became a thing there for a little bit. I think Amanda was probably in the very first crew that did it with Officer Wood. And I came on probably pretty shortly after that. And it was just kind of this cool thing that if you were in the know, you could, show up 2 a.m. and get to sneak around an old building. It was fun. It was exciting. But then me and Amanda and some other people started talking about ways that maybe we could make it more exciting to get people up close and personal with this ghost. And so we put together a team in cahoots with Officer Wood. I guess there's there's about 4 of us, maybe 5. I want to say 4.
Really don't even remember who, like, God.
Yeah, there was 4.
I remember 3 of us for sure. I can't remember the other people. That's sad. So
yeah, so what we would end up doing is we would sneak in people in advance.
I'm sorry, I have to ask. Was Carlos?
Yes.
Okay.
I forgot about
yeah.
Carlos,
shout out to Carlos.
Shout out. Carlos. Hope you're still rapping and making poetry, my dude.
Yes.
He is.
No, I'm just saying I agree with you.
Probably.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was like, well, hit me, show me his SoundCloud. Like, let's see this. you need to have him on your music podcast.
There you go.
So, yeah, we all get together and we would send in people early, like Carlos and Amanda and maybe 1 or 2 other people into the building and just set them in certain places early with a certain plan. And now Amanda, start correcting me if I start veering off here. And I would I would be, I guess, what you'd call the ringer. I would come on the tours acting like, oh, I've never been here before. And as we'd come in at first, I would just be like, oh, what was that? And just like kind of act jumpy and like act like I may have heard things just to get everybody, on their nerves. And all the while, I'm texting them where we are. Now, I want to point this out because this was not in the, there were iPhones. I did not have an iPhone. I wasn't that cool. I had a chocolate, like with like 3 digits or 9 numbers or whatever, plus a star and a pound, where I had to do the thing. Like if you've seen The Departed, when Matt Damon is having to text Jack Nicholson, feds are on their way, like in his pocket, it's this whole thing. That was me, like trying to like secretly text these guys, because we would do things like we would be telling the story out front before we'd go in, and one of them would be messing with the elevator. So sometimes they notice it, sometimes not. I never wanted to point that. The real things I wanted them to be able to see so they couldn't, blame me, and they'd freak out about that. Then maybe one of them would like knock on something and make a noise. Like, dude, there's something made a noise. And so we'd go down there. Of course, I'd let them know that they're coming so they could kind of sneak out. Amanda would play the piano. And she,
it was creepy.
yeah, it was like this old
Because
creepy.
that was on the 3rd or 4th floor, and so when they were coming down at the bottom, you can't really tell because it just like echoes or reverberates through the whole building.
And
current students may not realize, like, this is way before all the fine art stuff that they have now. So anything art or creative related was crammed into this building. Like the band hall was upstairs, and
yeah, that'll because the band hall is going to come into play a little bit later. Yeah, and so Amanda would be playing these songs sometimes, even when we weren't giving tours, like when she would just be waiting for a tour. And so people just would walk by. Like I would talk to someone at Hardy over lunch and they'd be like, dude, I was walking by Presser and I heard something playing in there. There's something real. And so like it really, especially among like maybe more the freshman class, because that's a lot of who we were bringing on tours, were like, guys, there was something real going on there. And it was amazing. So we'd continue up. And Amanda, what was it like as like we are kind of going on the tour and y'all are getting set up just hiding in there by yourselves? What was that experience like?
I mean, after you've been in there a couple times, you kind of get used to the building, you know what's creepy or not creepy about it. And so then when you see it during the day,
yeah.
building. So obviously the creepiness kind of faded away, but it was really fun and exhilarating to just wait for people coming through. And like we kind of were just on cue of knowing exactly when to play the piano or when to send the elevator down. And so it was fun. It became like a big game every night to play.
You know, somebody's probably spent a decade being like, man, when I was in school, I saw a real haunting. And now they're going to watch this and be like, are you kidding?
Nobody, it was us.
You know, something we never got around to, but we often like thought about trying to pull off was like getting some old, like timey looking dress and like putting Amanda in it, like on the other end of the hall and like having her just like walk by would have been amazing, but we couldn't figure out how to pull it off and, you know, not make it look, you know, because like they're just gonna see like what's a person like walking by. They might not think ghost, you know. So then it's like, do you have to do makeup? And then is it, you know, so all those stupid reasons why it might just fall apart if you pushed it too far, why we didn't do it.
I do remember since I was upstairs, I seem to remember something about like standing in the window. So like when they were downstairs doing the tour part.
Oh.
I don't know if y'all ever like directed them to try to look up there, but I do remember like always kind of being in the window just to see if, you know, just if anybody ever noticed.
I don't know if I remember that one. That would
because that's what people would do the most. Like, even like 2 years after all this stuff you're saying, is like they'd say, you know, if you look in the window, you can sometimes see. Well, there was one time I got excited because I thought I saw like a face like reflection. Yeah. And then I realized it's just the window, I think, was smudged upstairs. Yeah. But the way it looked when I first saw it, I'm like, oh, finally. And then I saw the same thing the next night. I'm like, no, that's not what it is.
That's awesome. And so we would try to hit up all these creepy things, kind of telling the story about the ghost who we called Clementine as we would go up. And usually if we played our cards right, like the tension is starting to rack up. Like they're getting to be like, okay, maybe there is something going on here. I haven't been able to find the source of these sounds. I don't think anyone else is in here. I don't know. I'm not sure about this now. And so we'd go up to the top floor and go into like this attic space, which was extremely scary. When you walked in, I don't know why, but on like the top shelf, there was a baby doll that was like sticking out and it was like looking at you as you walked in the door. So
that was definitely the creepiest room.
Yeah. And so
did y'all put that there?
No, that was
it was there. It was just perfect.
It was like a storage closet.
Yeah. It was just kind of leaning out like it was great. And so we'd go in there and it would be completely dark and we'd shut the door. And then Officer Wood would be like, all right, Clementine, and we sometimes would make them hold hands like it's a seance or some crazy thing. And so we'd go, Clementine, come out, Clementine. And while we're calling for Clementine, I'm texting Carlos, who is on the floor right below us, literally right underneath us in what was the band hall at the time. And there was a giant kind of 5 foot wide kind of big drum, like huge thing, like
the big bass drum.
Yeah, yes, huge. And it's an old building, right? And so he would just whack on it like 1, 2, maybe 3 times, and it would vibrate the building. So from where we were, it was just like world. Like the building moves early, you feel like in the feet, and you just hear this loud bass sound. It doesn't sound like a regular drum. And that is the moment where I saw dudes almost get broken up with from their girlfriends because they would just split, like run away from them all the way downstairs because it was near the stairwell, just spiral down, run out to their truck, not even think about their girlfriend at the time.
Chivalrous.
Yes, it was amazing. Like we had like big, strong, like football players, like didn't matter. Like they're gone. They are like terrified. People cussing, like it was absolutely hilarious. And that was kind of the climax of it. And so we'd go out and like, guys, I don't know what that was, but like there's something going on. And they would dismiss, and then of course I'd go back up and meet with everyone in presser, and we'd crack up, and we might see if we could get another tour going. And because of this, and because we were smart enough to be subtle enough with it and not actually make Amanda like look like a ghost in the hallway, it wasn't like I saw a ghost. It was like there's just something going on there. So like it could bring people in who, you know, obviously are not crazy and believe in actual ghosts. And so it was great. Yeah, it was like it spread around, and it lasted as long as we could keep our mouths shut. But some of us, and I'll point at me, just thought it was just a little bit too cool not to talk about. And I think later on in the game, we brought in another person who will remain anonymous. But he was really a loudmouth about it. Yeah, I don't know what language he was speaking in, but he might have been speaking in French, but I don't know. So I don't want to call anyone out though. But he let everyone know what was going on.
It lasted what, a month? I mean, it was a while that.
I mean, I feel like it was right up till the end of that semester, and then I really want to say the reason a lot of it ended is because Officer Wood wasn't on campus anymore. That was his last semester.
Was it?
Yeah, he was.
Or was it? No, it was one more.
Yeah,
that fall or spring.
No, because remember the following year, y'all may remember that a certain somebody and I were taken to be questioned for riding on the top of Tyler's Hummer into the presser parking lot. Yeah. And this poor girl was like, I'll get you my information. And Officer Wood was like, yeah, I need to just basic info, student ID, and stop hanging out with him. And which eventually she did. And then he looks at me and says, and I'm like, do you need mine? He goes, shut up, Smith. I got yours on the dashboard. And I thought he was kidding, but he actually did. I walked over, it was on the dashboard.
You know, the great thing about Officer Wood, and this is probably indicated by the fact that I'm calling him Officer Wood instead of his real name, is he could be a podcast subject all to its own. But it's not one that we could ever.
I'm going to skip that one.
Where we might actually get a call from UMHB administration questions, and I wouldn't want to put this guy into any more trouble than he should already.
No, we're almost to double-digit episodes without problems.
Let's keep this thing going. And so it was, but no, it did last most of the semester, and I know this because, to my great shame, we were doing this on it would have been the first or second round of the playoffs, 2008. I guess we could look it up. So this would have been around close to Thanksgiving. And so we were doing it. We were up super late, like to 4 or 5 a.m., sort of goofing off. Because here's the thing with Officer Wood. Sometimes when we were done doing that, he would then go let us ride with him in his police car. Yep. And he would like pretend to pull people over just to scare them and then keep driving and then like show us how fast he could go with his
We wonder why he's not there anymore.
This guy, it was amazing. But for a bunch of 18-year-old kids, like,
I can confirm I took one of those joyrides in the car.
Yeah, he took students on joyrides. Yes, he did. And so anyway, it was before the HSU playoff game when we won by like 1 point or 2 points or at the very end because the kicker couldn't kick. And so so I listened to the end of the game on the radio from my freshman dorm in McLean, which was really bad because I thought I might get in trouble with the couch crew captain, since I was, not they would get mad at me, but I was like trying to build up a reputation as like a future captain material, you know. So
Well, no offense, but we were so into that game, I didn't.
Yes. Oh, I know. Yeah, it was.
But once you said it, I was like, oh yeah, you weren't there.
Yeah. My great shame. But hey, we both ended up becoming, all three of us. Well, I mean, you already were. Me and Amanda both became captains despite that. So, you know, it all worked.
I apologize to you both.
Yeah. Well, I think we just told the story about the time I quit in the middle of halftime. I
don't know if we were recording when that happened.
Yeah. The couch crew ended with me at halftime, and my lingering memory is just Amanda yelling at me as I walked off. She was the only one left fighting for it, but you know, there was like 2 non-captains over there, so I was done.
He called me, and my reaction was like Ron Burgundy. I was like, I'm not even mad. That's amazing.
So but it's back. So, you know, no harm, no foul, right?
Amanda, I mean, if we're wrapping up the presser story, I kind of want to just see what you're up to these. I mean, I know, but our listeners don't know what you're up to these days. So,
well, I guess a lot's changed. And how long ago did I even graduate? I don't know. It's been forever. So,
you were 2 years after me?
Yeah, 10, 11 years.
2012. We're coming up on our 10-year reunion, Amanda.
No. Not going.
Hey, so, at least your 10-year reunion wasn't in 2020. You'll get a 10-year reunion.
Maybe the world hasn't changed that much yet.
No, Andy's gonna be there. I'll be there. It'll be great.
Did Andy graduate with us?
Well, yeah. Well, I mean,
before us.
Yeah, he graduated. Well, he came in a year early, but he graduated a year late.
Or a semester. That was just
victory lap.
Anyways, but no, I've been. I mean, you know, Patrick finally finished med school, so he's doing residency now. And then we've got our 2 little boys that are 6 months apart that we are raising. It's fantastic. Doesn't take up all of our energy at all.
I know. I'm amazed at what you're doing. Because I've had a lot of people ask us like, hey, when's kid number 2 gonna come? I'm like, dude, I don't even have a handle on kid number 1. And you just like with 2 kids. So.
Just go for it. Like, really, we were already losing sleep anyway. So what was one more? Like, we're just knocking it all out.
Yeah, you're right. You know, I don't know.
So when is kid number 2 coming?
Well, whenever we get a handle on kid number 1, I'll tell you like
you're never gonna have another kid then, because you're never gonna get a hang on her.
Well, then I guess that's the way the cookie crumbles.
Tyler, I was telling Hannah about how admin were probably shaking in their spot when they saw the young Archibald and the young Reed on the front rail of the football game at homecoming.
That was really fun. That was honestly my highlight of homecoming, was seeing Andy's little daughter and my little daughter get to meet and just like hit it off and run around campus together. And like when they're at the game, I'm like, that's amazing. These guys are gonna terrorize this campus in like 15.
Incredible.
So Amanda, we always kind of wrap up the pod asking some questions about your time at UMHB. So in all that time, what was the best tradition, your favorite tradition that you took part in?
Oh gosh. Is it cliche to say couch crew?
No. Had a lot of
I just think like that's where like sports is what brought us all. I mean, that and road trips, it was always just around sports. Like that's where like lifelong friends now is just all centered around sports and couch crew and traveling to go to games together.
What were some?
It's a relevant tradition again.
That's right.
Yeah, I saw that. Whoever led that, good job to them.
Yeah. What were some of the other things that you were involved in?
I wasn't a very involved student.
I know you're like me, but I thought you did more than me though. Did you do FYC?
No.
No?
I didn't. I mean, Tyler, I didn't even participate in my welcome week group.
That's right.
I was too busy involved.
Did you ever do Miss MHB or anything like that?
No.
No? Okay. Sweet.
I'm like, I really think did I do anything? I don't.
You were very involved with Presser Hall.
Presser Hall, partying.
Well, we do always ask everyone, in addition to favorite thing you were involved with or tradition, what's one that you wish you had gotten to do more of? Like if you had to go back.
If I could go back, I would have been a little more involved. I mean, I came out with good friends. It's all right. But I mean, I don't know. the beauty pageant, not my thing. So definitely not that.
It's not a beauty pageant. It's about Christian character.
They have to walk in heels upstairs. Like I'd be out, disqualified at practice, not happening. So I mean, I don't know. I think that I definitely could have made some better decisions freshman year. And so I think that right off the bat, just being involved right from the beginning, doing things like FYC would have probably just been better overall, but I think I turned out all right.
Gotcha. Oh, is that one of your sons? You want to introduce us?
My dogs, not my son.
Well, I'm sorry. I've got a 3-year-old who pretends to be a dog half the time. I ended up
my
that
son
child.
eats the dog toys. Any given moment I can look over and Tucker's got a dog bone in his mouth. So there's that.
Attaboy. Favorite sports related memory. We always ask everyone that, and since your favorite thing you were involved with usually was sports, you have a lot of memories on this. So if you had
I have to narrow down a sports memory.
Yeah, favorite.
You're also implying that I can remember that far back and pinpoint one. I don't know. Oh, I mean, we got in trouble, but it was pretty memorable writing the score on yeah. I can't even think of the school now.
UTD.
Now that's a story that I don't think has been told on this podcast.
No.
But there is a rock at the University of Texas, Dallas, which always gets spray painted on by different organizations and stuff going on. And so after we beat them in a basketball tournament, we just spray painted the whole dang thing and wrote in Go Crew in the score of the game. And technically, and this is what I told the dean when I was in his office over this incident. Technically, we didn't break any rules because in the University of Texas Dallas handbook, it says that any student may spray paint that thing as long as it's like not inappropriate. Nathan Berryman, who was with us, was currently a grad student at UTD. And maybe Megan was too. I don't remember.
She was there because Megan was a student.
And so I don't know, my memory doesn't serve super well on who was actually doing the painting, but for Nathan and Megan.
And it wasn't inappropriate. It was facts.
That's
Y'all
right.
don't know this, but I met a UTD student at Sheps at a concert this summer in a group of people. She's a current student there. And I don't know what compelled me to tell this random story to this person that probably wouldn't care at all, but when I did tell her, she cracked up laughing. I was like, that's hilarious. I'm like, everyone on the UTD side, they thought it was funny.
Yeah, it's hilarious. Unfortunately, we got banned from a home playoff game after that. And when I told the dean that technically we didn't break any rules, he just got real frustrated and kind of waved his arms a little bit and said something to the effect of, but it's against our UHB's character and the spirit of who we are. But it's fine. I feel bad for Andy, who still to this day brings up the fact that he also got banned. He had no part in that.
His last game.
There's no way he wasn't.
Well,
yeah.
he'll be all right.
Sorry, Arch.
Alumni, we're proud of y'all.
Yeah, exactly. So what's the biggest thing you feel like you've taken from UHB with you? That a lesson you learned there, something important, maybe just student loans, I don't know.
Those are about to be forgiven and gone, so that's a good thing.
You've got trust in the government. Oh, well, maybe you've got another program. And if you're talking about Biden just waiving student loans,
let's go, Brandon.
You're right. You know what? He could do anything, and he would be the greatest politician of all time for me for giving student loans. It's never going to happen. But
well, even if
my political beliefs or anything other Biden has to say, I just mean that's how big of a deal would be.
By the way, Couch Crew, I want y'all to know one of our best players. His name's Brandon. Y'all get on that.
Please do not. That would be something we would have done and then get in extreme trouble for. So let's keep this couch still going.
Oh.
I think we're waiting on an answer.
What was
I
the
didn't know.
question?
I couldn't remember if there were any. I couldn't remember if there were any more closing questions we did. So I was assuming Garrett would know.
I love how I was like, I'm gonna let Amanda talk over us for a second, and then Tyler's waiting on me to say something.
I think somewhere in there Tyler asked a question, but then he
Yeah.
kept talking, so I don't remember the question.
Best thing you took with you from UMHB.
Patrick.
There you go. Shout out
Okay,
Patty.
the rest of y'all are pretty cool too, but
Y'all, if y'all don't know Patrick Prazak, so that's our boy. He's an animal.
yeah, I don't really see him much anymore. Not for relationship issue reasons. He's just always at school now. I thought
he
med
graduated. No.
Yeah, I thought med school would be the hardest. It's not. Residency is way harder. Like we hardly ever see each other.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. So like right now he's working 1 to 9 every day.
Yeah.
And then of course I work normal work day. So like I'll see him on Friday.
Well, something's going on then, because I watch Grey's Anatomy, and listen, those residents, they seem to have social lives. So bring that up with them. I don't know.
I think their social life is with each other in the on-call rooms.
Okay, gotcha.
If
Yeah.
you're having those kind of relationships at work, then we've got bigger issues.
I was more of a Scrubs guy.
Do they have a lot of? And I don't actually watch Grey's Anatomy. Do they have a lot of inner relationships?
Yes, they do.
Yeah, in the mop
That's
closet.
kind of what the whole show is about.
Oh.
Got anything else?
I think all we need to say is Happy Halloween and HSU.
Still sucks.
All right, catch y'all later.
Hey, thanks, Amanda.
No problem.